Hello everyone, welcome to Sarushi classes. So let's read the Inside Daily Current Affairs for 7th of November 2017, and here is the first topic. It is from paper 1 and here is the topic, that is important geophysical phenomena such as earthquake, tsunami, volcanic activity, cyclones, etc. and geographical features and their location changes in critical geographical features including water bodies and ice caps and in flora and fauna and the effects of such changes. So, the topic is 2017 very likely in the top 3 warmest year on record. So, the year 2017 is very likely to be in the top 3 warmest year on record according to provisional figures from the World Meteorological Organization. So, factors responsible for this. So, absence of El Nino phenomenon, then the long-term trend of warming driven by the human activities continued unabated, not updated, it's unabated, and concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere are highest on record. Now something about the World Meteorological Organization. So what is it? It is a specialized agency of United Nations dedicated to meteorology, climatology, operational hydrology, and other related geophysical sciences such as oceanography and atmospheric chemistry. What does Meteorological Organization do? So, W World Meteorological Organization, that is WMO, coordinates the activities of the national meteorological and the hydrological services in the 191 states and territories so that basic weather, climate and water services are made available to anyone who needs them when they need them. And WMO guarantees the publication of observation and statistics and further the application of meteorology and hydrology, including the monitoring and prediction of climate change and ozone to all aspects of human activities such as aviation, shipping, water management and agriculture. WMO also encourages research and training in meteorology and hydrology and their related applications and contributes towards reducing the impact of weather and climate related hazards. This is accomplished through regular reliable forecasts and early warning of flooding, drought, tropical cyclones, tornadoes and other extreme events. Predictions concerning locust swarms and the transports of pollutants, nuclear and toxic substances, volcanic ash are also provided by WMO members. Now, next topic, that is next news item is Public Credit Registry to speed up digitization. So this topic comes under the paper 2 and the topic is statutory, regulatory and the various quasi-judicial bodies. So under this heading, this news items comes, that is Public Credit Registry to speed up digitization. So let's read something about this Public Credit Registry. What is it? So when the lenders know more about borrowers, their credit history or other lenders to the firm, they are not as concerned about the layman's problem of financing non-viable projects and therefore extend more credit. Public credit registries are databases managed by a government agency, usually the central bank or the superintendent of the banks, that collect information on the standing of borrowers in the financial system and make it available to actual and potential lenders. Now, dependent variable is the introduction of Public Credit Registry. Before 2008, it was 0 and after the introduction of it became 1. So, we simulate the effects on the Albanian private credit of the Public Credit Registry. So, for this, we use the table 642 of the result in the study of S. Janko et al. 2007 and the parameter is 9.9, which means the Public Credit Registry increases credit by 9.9% of GDP on average. Therefore, 1 into 9.9% is equal to 9.9% of private credit to the GPD in the effect of the introduction of the Public Credit Registry in Albania. So, let's read something about it. So, Reserve Bank Deputy Governor N.S. Swaminathan recently said the introduction of Public Credit Registry will further speed up the digitization that has already changed the way banking is done in country. Now about Public Credit Registry. So what is it? So the Public Credit Registry will be an extensive database of credit information for India that is accessible to all stakeholders. The idea is to capture all relevant information in one large database on the borrower in particular and the borrower's entire set of borrowing contracts and outcome. Okay, let's read it again. What is this public credit registry? It will be an extensive database. Okay, it will be an extensive database of what? Of credit information for India that is accessible to all stakeholders. Okay, so this data is accessible to all stakeholders and the idea is to capture all relevant information in one large database on the borrower and in particular the borrower's entire set of borrowing contracts and outcomes. So this is public credit registry. Now something about the management of this PCR. So generally a PCR, that is public credit registry, is managed by a public authority like the central banks or the banking supervisors, and reporting of loan details to the PCR by lenders and the borrowers is mandated by the law. Now the contractual terms and the outcomes covered and the threshold above which the contracts are to be reported vary in different jurisdictions, but the idea is to capture all relevant information in one large database on the borrower, in particular the borrower's entire set of borrowing contracts and outcomes. Now, what are the benefits of having PCR? Actually, in science, that is another term, that PCR means polymerase chain reactions. For don't get confused, this PCR is different. This is what? This is public credit registry. So the PCR, that is public credit registry, can potentially help banks in credit assessments and pricings of credit, as well as in making risk-based dynamic and counter-cyclical provisioning. Now the PCR can also help RBI in understanding if the transmission of monetary policy is working, and if not, where are the bottlenecks. Further, it can help supervisors, regulators and banks in early intervention and effective restructuring of the stressed bank credits. Now, a PCR will also help banks and regulators, as credit information is a public good and its utility is to credit market at large and to society in general. So, moving ahead with the next news item, that is COP23. Now, this topic comes under the bilateral, regional and global groupings and agreements involving India and or affecting India's interests. So, here the United Nations Framework Convention on the Climate Change is hosting 23rd Annual Conference at Bonn, Germany. So, it is Conference of Parties 23rd Fiji United Nations Climate Change Conference at Bonn 2017. So what is this COP23? The conference named COP23 is being held to further the provisions of Paris Agreement and achieve results in the execution guidelines, while the aim of event is much larger. Nations attending the COP are scheduled to finalize the rule book of the Paris Agreement. This process was started in Marrakesh 2016 meet, and these rules will dictate how the agreement would be monitored and executed. It will change the famous 1997 Kyoto Protocol by 2020, and the rule book will include new international standards for measuring carbon emissions. These standards will ensure comparison of efforts made by various countries. However, a few negotiators like the US deny the impact of climate change and argue that the efforts cost a huge amount of resources. Now something about the Paris Agreement. The Paris Agreement is meant to make sure that the average surface temperature all over the world does not rise above the 2 degrees Celsius compared to the pre-industrial time. So to achieve this goal, countries have promised under the Paris Agreement to take a variety of self-determined action to restrain the current rate of the global warming. So this is about the Paris Agreement, from which USA has backed out. Now something about this UNFCCC. So this UNFCCC was adopted in 1992 at the Rio Earth Summit, which marked the beginning of the international community's first concerted effort to confront the problem of climate change known as the Rio Convention. The United Nations Framework on Climate Change and Control. This is right? Okay. So, yes, United Nations Framework Convention on the Climate Change established a framework for action to stabilize concentrations of the greenhouse gases in the Earth's atmosphere, and the United Nations Framework Conventions on the Climate Change entered into force in 1994, and nearly all of the world's nations, a total of 195, have now signed on. Okay, now moving forward with the next news item, that is India to contribute 100 million US dollar to United Nations Partnership Fund. This topic comes under the bilateral, regional, global groupings and agreements involving India and or affecting India's interest. So let's read something about this. So India has pledged an additional $100 million US dollar towards the United Nations Partnership Fund, significantly scaling up its support to sustainable development projects across the developing world. Now something about the India United Nations Development Partnership Fund. What is it? So the India United Nations Development Partnership Fund was set up as a partnership between India and the United Nations Office of the South-South Corporation. So what is it for? Managed by United Nations South-South Corporation, the fund will support Southern-owned and late demand-driven and transformational sustainable development projects across the developing world, focusing on the least developed countries and small island developing states. United Nations agencies will implement the fund's projects in close collaboration with the partnering governments. Now, focus areas are reducing poverty and hunger, improving health, education and equality, and expanding access to clean water and energy. Now the facts for the prelims and the mains about United Nations Office for South-South Corporation. So what is it? The United Nations Office for South-South Corporation was established to promote, coordinate and support South-South and triangular operations globally and within the United Nations system. United Nations Office on South-South Cooperation, hosted by United Nations Development Program since 1974, was established by United Nations General Assembly with a mandate to advocate for and coordinate South-South and triangular cooperation on a global and the United Nations system-wide basis. Now, the functions of this United Nations Office on the South-South Cooperation received policy directives and guidelines from the General Assembly and through its subsidiary body, the High-Level Committee on the South-South Cooperation. United Nations Office on the for the South-South Cooperation submits its strategic planning frameworks to the United Nations Development Program, then UNFPA and UNOPS Executive Board for approval and funding. Okay. Now the next news item is from paper 3. Topic is IPR. So here you will see the Banganpalle mangoes get GI tag. Here you will see the image of the delicious mangoes, and these are the Banganpalle mangoes. So mouth watering. Okay, the famous Banganpalle mangoes of the Andhra Pradesh and Tulaipanji rice of the West Bengal are among the 7 commodities that have been granted geographical indication this fiscal year by the Indian Patent Office. The other 5 products which have received the GI tag this year include Pochampulli Ikat of Telangana, Gobindabhog rice of West Bengal, Durgi stone carving and Etikopakka toys of the Andhra Pradesh and the Chaksang shawl of the Nagaland. Okay, I will read these 5 products again. So these 5 products who got the GI tag includes Pochampalli Ikat of Telangana. Remember, Pochampalli Ikat of Telangana. Then Gobindabhog rice of West Bengal. Then third is Durgi stone carving, and 4th is Itukopakka toys of Andhra Pradesh, and last is Chakan Sesang shawl of Nagaland. So these 5 products have got the GI tag. Now something about the GI tag. So what is it? The GI is primarily an agricultural, a natural or a manufacturer products, that is handicrafts and the industrial goods originating from a defined geographical territory. So what is the significance of the GI tag? Typically, such a name conveys an assurance of quality and distinctiveness which is essentially attributable to the place of its origin. So once the GI tag protection is granted, no other producer can misuse the name to market similar products. So it also provides comfort to the customers about the authenticity of that product. Now the examples of these are Darjeeling tree, then Tirupati laddu, then Kangra painting, then Nagpur orange and Kashmir pashmina are among the registered GIs in India. Moving forward with the next news item, that is the Proxima Century. This is about awareness in the space, and the Proxima Century may host planetary system. So the scientists have detected dust belts around Proxima Century, a finding that indicates the presence of an elaborate planetary system hosted by the closest star to the solar system. Remember, scientists have detected a dust belt around the Proxima Century, and that is a finding that indicates the presence of elaborate planetary system hosted by closest star to solar system. So what are the key facts? So these are observations were made by the Atacama Large Millimeter Array Observatory in Chile. Remember Atacama Large Millimeter Array Observatory in Chile, and the new ALMA observations reveal emissions from clouds of cold cosmic dust surrounding the star. Okay. So ALMA, that is Atacama Large Millimeter Array Observatory, revealed the glow coming from coal dust in a region between 1 to 4 times as far from the Proxima Century as the Earth is from the Sun. Now the data also hints at the presence of even cooler outer dust belts and may indicate the presence of a system of planets. These structures are similar to the much larger belts in the solar system and are also expected to be made from particles of rock and ice that failed to form planets. Now something about the Proxima Century. So what is it? Proxima Century is the closest star to the Sun, and it is a faint red dwarf lying just 4 light years away in the southern constellations of the Centaurus. It is orbited by the Earth-sized temperate world Proxima b, discovered in 2016, and the closest exoplanet to the solar system. Now, is Proxima b habitable? Okay. So Proxima b orbits its star at a distance of 0.05 astronomical units, which is well within the habitable zone, and in a recent study, researchers calculated different possible radii and compositions for the planet. They say Proxima b may be an ocean planet with water similar to the subsurface oceans seen on icy moons around Jupiter and Saturn. According to this theory, the planet would have a radius of 5,543 miles, that is 8,920 kilometers, and made up of 50% rock and 50% water that forms a massive ocean. Along with this, it would have a thin gas atmosphere like Earth, and in another scenario, they say Proxima b could be a very dense planet with a metal core that accounts for 65% of its mass, while the rest is a rocky silicate mantle, and this would occur at the radius of just 3,722 miles, that is 5,990 kilometers, giving it a makeup similar to Mercury's. So let's discuss the facts for prelims. So about ALMA telescope. So what is it? The ALMA, the largest astronomical project in the existence, is a single telescope of revolutionary design composed of 66 high precision antennas located on the Chajnantor Plateau, 5,000 meters altitude in the North Chile. So, who has built it? The Atacama Large Millimeter or Submillimeter Array is an international partnership of European Southern Observatory and the US National Science Foundation and National Institute of Natural Sciences of Japan together with the NRC Canada. So NSC and ASIAA, Taiwan and KASI, Republic of Korea, is in cooperation with the Republic of Chile. So what is it for? ALMA allows scientists to unravel long-standing and important astronomical mysteries in the search of our cosmic origins. So this is it. Next topic is the China launches 2 navigation satellites. Okay, so China is building its own navigation satellite system to rival United States GPS. Has launched to view those 3 satellites into space through a single carrier rocket. And the satellites were launched aboard a Long March 3B carrier rocket. Okay. Now, 2 newly launched satellites represent the third phase of the BEIDOU, that is BEIDOU, navigation satellite system. Now something about this BEIDOU project. So what is it? So named after the Chinese term for the plow or a big dipper constellation, the BEIDOU project was formally initiated in 1994 and it began to serve China in 2000 and the Asia Pacific region at the end of 2012. So if everything goes according to the plan, China will become the third country. Okay. If everything goes according to the plan, China will become the third country in the world after the US and Russia to operate its own navigation system. Now something about the operational area. So BEIDOU currently consists of the 10 satellites and covers a swath of the Asia Pacific region from Australia in the south to the Russia in the north. The system is accurate to within the 82 feet, that is 25 meters, and now serves China and surrounding areas on the pilot basis. So significance. The emergence of BEIDOU should make China far less dependent on the GPS constellation, which is operated by the United States military and is currently the world's dominant satellite navigation system. So facts for prelim: Global Navigation System, Indian Regional Navigation Satellite IRNSS, India, GPS Global Positioning System US, and the GLONASS Russia, and Galileo Europe. Now something about some facts for prelims. So Women's Asia Cup hockey title. So India has won the Women's Asia Cup hockey title defeating China. With this, India also qualified for next year's World Cup as continental champion. So next is ICIG. So the International Consortium for Investigative Journalists today releases the Paradise Paper, a global investigation that reveals the offshore activities of some of the world's most powerful people and companies. So what is this ICIG? The International Consortium of Investigative Journalists. International Consortium for Investigative Journalists. International Consortium for Investigative Journalists is a global network of more than 200 investigative journalists in the 70 countries who collaborate on in-depth investigative stories. Founded in 1997 by the respected American journalist Chuck Levins, ICIG was launched as a project of Center for Public Integrity, focusing on issues that do not stop at the national frontier: cross-border crime, corruption, and accountability of power. So with this, we have come to an end of today's current affairs. Do subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for more updates. Thank you.